Hey, this is Marcus Washington, MTC Media, wrapping up Georgetown, St. John's. The Hoyas get their rear ends handed to them 66-41 by the Red Storm. Georgetown was led by Malik Mack. His 13 points was the only Hoya to be in double digits. Thomas Sorber had 8 points and 9 rebounds. St. John's got 13 points from Zuby Ejiofor and Kadari Richmond, 13 points apiece, and Aaron Scott and R.J. Lewis Jr. had 10 apiece. And very simply, St. John's gets off to this 9-0 run to start the game that has, backdoor dunk, three-pointer, and I think another layup after that. And they were off and running. Georgetown never, ever got into any sort of rhythm in that first half, and it was apparent early. They only shot 23% in the first half of this game. They were 3 for 11 from three, 4 for 9 from the free throw line. The free throw shooting is at times is wretched for Georgetown, but they obviously did not come out focused. As I told a fellow media member earlier, they looked like a team that thought they had all the answers because this was the second time around in the league. And St. John's looked like the team that paid attention to the scout. Georgetown didn't look like a team that paid attention to the scout. St. John's did. St. John's, because they're long and they're switchable, and if you watch my post-game question to Rick Pitino, and I asked about that, they took away the middle screen and roll and the zoom actions and stuff because they can switch with such length, and Georgetown guards are so small. I mean, they are really, really small. Malik Mack and Jaden Epps combined for 8 turnovers. And that's because you switch, not only can you switch with length, but you're switching with length that is also athletic. Then they can take away Sorber on the roll. There's just so many things that they can do because of the makeup, the composition, and frankly, the experience that they have on that roster. Whereas Georgetown, it's a work in progress. If you watch my pregame, you knew I was concerned about Georgetown's bench. Well, once again, the bench just did not contribute in the way that you hoped they would. They roughly 44 minutes where they shot 1 for 12, 1 for 7 from 3, 3 for 9 from the free throw line, and 6 rebounds. That's not a Big East bench. I do not expect that even from what you think of, whoever you think is the worst Big East team. I don't expect that a Big East team could get over 40 minutes from their bench and shoot 2 for 20 from the field, or no, it wasn't 2. It was 1 for 12 from the field, and 1 for 7 from 3, and 3 for 9 from the free throw line. That's CYO stats. It's not Big East basketball stats. When you look at it as a team, Georgetown, their turnovers, 16 turnovers, led to 19 St. John's points. St. John's also had 8 second chance points. And I know Georgetown had 10, but when you're giving up 19 points on turnovers, that can't be a wash. And then obviously, St. John's had 21 fast break points. Well, when you're turning the ball over, the majority of them are live ball turnovers. Then those fast break points are going to come. Look, St. John's made a lot of shots in the first half that you could say, I know they're not going to make them the entire game. They had guys hitting shots, but those are things that you say, I know they're not going to make them the entire game. And you saw in the second half when Georgetown went zone to what Pitino described as a 1-3-1 zone. It's kind of a tandem zone. You saw what St. John's only basically scored when Georgetown turned the ball over. It's the turnovers. You can live with all right, they hit these shots early, they're not going to hit them the entire time. You can live with that over a 40-minute game. The turnovers where you're giving them layups and dunks, you can't live with it. The missed layups on Georgetown's part, Georgetown had a chance, as poor as Georgetown played. They're down by 15. They had 2 opportunities to either get it down to 13 or 12. And and this is with 5, 6, 7 minutes left. And they get a poor possession, and then they get a PV layup blocked on a 2-on-1 fast break. And then it's still a 15-point game. St. John's gets a three from the corner. 18 points, game, set, match. It's those things. As poor as Georgetown had played up to that moment, they could have been in hailing distance of their opponent, because in the second half, again, St. John's really didn't get anything outside of layups and dunks, and really those came off of Georgetown turnovers. Georgetown has to do something about their turnovers. They have to do something about shooting 7 for 16 from the free throw line. I don't give a damn if it didn't make a difference in this game. That stuff is going to make a difference down the line. They didn't miss those free throws because the game was out of whack. They missed the free throws because they can't shoot them. And that's going to come back and bite you in the butt, especially on this Georgetown team that doesn't blow anyone out. So you're going to have to make those. They did try to force feed Sorber today. He had 9 shot attempts, but more importantly, he had a lot of touches. He got off to a good start in the second half with back-to-back baskets, but he shot 3 for 9 from the field. And like I said, 9 points, 9 rebounds. He had 2 assists, but 4 turnovers. He did have 4 steals, but the 4 turnovers. Georgetown has to find a way not to turn the ball over. Yes, they have diminutive guards. Yes, they have guards that everyone feels like everyone in the league just wants to bully them. And that's what happens to Georgetown. Everyone comes in and said, we're going to play physical with Mack and Epps. We're going to make the referees blow the whistle. And, we'll bet on the fact that the majority of the time, or at least enough times, they're not going to blow the whistle. And Georgetown's just going to have to find a way to deal with that, because Mack and Epps aren't going to get any bigger. And it doesn't look like right now that Cooley's going to get a friendly whistle. I mean, I see him over there working the refs. They just beat the crap out the guards. They beat the crap out of Thomas. You could blow the whistle more when it's Thomas, and they don't get a whistle. So this is what it is, and you're asking players who are young to have to play through it. You're asking players who are young to have to battle it and not get upset. And you're asking players who are young to do those things that right now they have not been able to do those things and stay within the game and to stay efficient. Because when Butler comes in here Friday night, you know what Butler's going to do? They're going to play everyone physical. And then just say, hey, man, if Georgetown's not getting the calls when they play St. John's, UConn, and those other guys, well, hopefully they don't get them tonight. And that's going to be the thing. Georgetown has to play through it. I said in the pregame, you cannot be discouraged if you don't get a whistle from trying to take the ball to the front of the rim. And Georgetown's case was they couldn't get to the front of the rim because St. John's was in heavy gap with their length, and Georgetown couldn't hit shots. And that was the thing I was saying. This is why Georgetown needed to shoot well from 3, because you need to stretch St. John's defense from sideline to sideline. And the only thing St. John's did, because they were switching and they were pushing out on any sort of ball screen action, was the Georgetown's court was from baseline to the center court. Georgetown can't beat St. John's that way. They don't have guys who can just run through you and create baskets. It's not who's on this roster. That's a big difference. In their actions, they run beautiful actions, but for those actions to be effective, you gotta make shots. And so when they don't do that, then the actions, they're not useless, but then the actions aren't what they could be. And that's what we saw tonight. The actions wasn't what they could be because they couldn't make a damn shot. So anyway, that's enough of the ranting in the post game. Again, St. John's 66, Georgetown 41. The Hoyas will be back Friday night here against Butler. I will be back tomorrow night at George Mason for George Mason and Loyola Chicago. It's Marcus Washington, MTC Media.